The words that broke the silence. It was a quiet afternoon when my daughter, Elise, said it. Those few words that rearranged the air in the room. "We're going tomorrow, Mom. I've sold your beach house." The sentence floated in the air, almost too soft to carry the weight it bore. I looked up from my teacup, hands trembling, watching her eyes dart away. The sea breeze outside seemed to stop, the world pausing to witness a heart quietly fracture. That beach house was more than wood and paint. It was my late husband's laughter in the walls, my children's footprints on the deck, my entire life condensed into salt, sun and time. The quiet aftershock. I didn't speak for a while. Elise busied herself stacking dishes, as if distraction could erase the guilt. I just sat, my eyes drifting to the furlough of Daniel, my husband, smiling in front of that same house. I whispered, almost to myself, "He built that place with his hands." Elise's jaw tightened. "Mom, it's just a house. You can't live there alone anymore. It's too much. Just a house." People say, just, so easily when they've never loved something with their soul. The drive to Dubai the next morning, the car was packed. My heart felt heavier than the suitcases. Elise hummed softly, probably to fill the silence I refused to break. As we drove along the coastal road, I kept my eyes on the horizon. The ocean glimmered, innocent and eternal, mocking how temporary everything else had become. When the beach house appeared, wood shutters, faded blue trim, porch swing swaying, I felt my breath hitch. It still looked like home. Ghosts in sunlight. I stepped inside. The smell of sea salt and lavender filled my lungs, the scent of decades. My fingers trailed the walls, feeling every nail Daniel hammered, every memory tucked in the corners. The kitchen tiles were cracked from years of barefoot mornings. The old wooden table still bore the knife mark where I once slipped while cutting Daniel's birthday cake. I sat down and closed my eyes. The ghosts weren't frightening. They were familiar. They were mine. A daughter's practicality. Elise followed behind me, her heels clicking against the old floor. "Mom, please. Don't make this harder. The couple buying it are lovely. They'll take good care of it." I turned to her slowly. "Do they know this floor creaks when it rains? Do they know the sea light hits that window at exactly 60:14 every morning? Will they know Daniel called that corner his thinking spot?" She sighed, the sigh of a woman too busy for nostalgia. "Mom, we need to move forward." But her forward felt like my end. The last dinner there at night, I made dinner in the same kitchen one last time. The sound of sizzling onions, the faint whistle of the kettle, all the old music returning for a final encore. Elise sat quietly at the table, scrolling through her phone. I watched her, my little girl, now a mother herself, and remembered when she used to sit there swinging her legs asking if mermaids lived in the ocean. Now her eyes were tired. Her life too full. I realized she wasn't cruel, just tired of carrying someone else's past. Midnight in the sea. When the house slept, I walked to the shoreline. The moonlight brushed the waves in silver, and I stood there barefoot, the water cool and forgiving. I whispered to the sea, "He'd be disappointed, wouldn't he, Daniel?" But I knew the answer already. Not disappointed in her, but perhaps in how the world changes faster than our hearts can catch up. A single tear slipped down and the sea took it like a promise. The memory drawer. In the morning, I opened the old drawer in the bedroom. Daniel's letters, his fishing knife, and a seashell we found together in 1968. I held the shell to my ear, pretending I could still hear the ocean we once ran along. The paper of his last note, "Always come back to the sea, love. It keeps you honest," was now yellowed and fragile. Elise knocked on the door. "Mom, are you ready?" I whispered, almost. But I wasn't, not in this lifetime. The realtor's smile. When the realtor arrived, she spoke too cheerfully. "Such a beautiful home, Mrs. Whittaker. The buyers are thrilled." I forced a polite smile, nodding while my heart begged to scream. As they walked through the rooms, pointing, laughing, imagining their future, I felt invisible. It was as if my years here had already been erased, scrubbed out like chalk on a board. The porch goodbye. When it was time to go, I stood on the porch. The ocean wind tugged at my scarf, the sun glinting off the windows one last time. Elise stood beside me, fidgeting. "Mom, I know this is hard, but I promise you'll be happier once you settle in at my place." I nodded, not trusting my voice. She didn't know. Happiness doesn't come from walls or meals or comfort. It comes from belonging, and I had belonged here. Leaving the keys, I placed the old brass key on the counter, the one Daniel had carried in his pocket for 40 years. My fingers lingered on it as if it were skin, alive and warm. "Lise," I said quietly, "could you give me one moment?" She hesitated but nodded and stepped outside. When she left, I kissed the key. "Thank you," I whispered to the walls, "for holding us." Then I turned, leaving behind half my soul. The long ride home. The road away from the coast was cruelly straight, no curves to soften the loss. Elise chatted about logistics, my room, the boxes, the groceries. while I stared out the window, each mile pulling me further from the sound of waves. The sea had been my lullaby, now silence was my inheritance. Adjusting to her world at Elise's suburban home, everything was polished and new. The air smelled of detergent instead of salt. "Your room's ready," she said brightly. "We even put some of your paintings on the wall." I smiled faintly, but those paintings looked wrong here. Like seashells trapped in glass. I lay in bed that night, missing the sound of waves more than breath. The box she forgot a week later. Wace brought me a small box. "Oh, I think this was left behind at the house. The movers found it." My heart jumped. I opened it slowly. Inside were Daniel's old photographs, him laughing by the porch as holding hands under the lighthouse, and one picture of Elise as a child, standing in the surf with her father's hat on her head. She looked at the photo quiet. For the first time her eyes softened. "I forgot about this day," she whispered. "So did I. But the sea hadn't. The rain that remembered it rained that night, and for a moment when the drops hit the window, it sounded like waves against the shore." I closed my eyes, imagining the tide reaching for me. In that sound I heard Daniel's voices. "Home isn't gone, love, it's inside you now." I smiled through the tears. Maybe he was right. Maybe I'd been carrying the beach all along. Elise's realization. The next morning, Elise came to me, holding one of the photos. "Mom, I didn't understand how much that house meant to you. I just thought I was helping." I reached for her hand. You helped me see that I can't live in the past forever. But I wish we'd said goodbye together." She nodded. Eyes shimmering. "Maybe we still can." The return trip 2 weeks later. Elise surprised me. "Mom, get dressed. We're taking a drive." When I saw the road sign, Seabridge Bay, I gasped. "Lisi." She smiled. "I called the new owners. They said we could visit before they move in." The ocean reappeared like an old friend, endless and forgiving. One last walk. The beach house looked smaller, humbler, but the soul of it was still there. The porch swing creaked as the wind moved through it, greeting me. I walked to the water, Elise beside me. Our footprints overlapped in the sand. "Mum," she said softly, "I never realized this was the only place you still felt him." I nodded. "It's where I remember who I was, not just someone's mother or widow, but me." The hidden letter. When we turned to leave, I noticed something wedged behind the porch beam. A yellowed envelope, my name written in Daniel's hand. My heart stopped. Elise covered her mouth. I opened it slowly. Inside was a note written decades ago. "If you ever have to let go of this house, remember, it was never the wood that held us together, love. It was you. You were always home." I couldn't breathe. The ocean blurred in my tears. Elise hugged me tight, her voice trembling. "Mom," he knew. The house within. That night, back in Elise's home, I sat by the window. The rain began again, and for the first time, it didn't of the photo of Daniel, and whispered, "You were right. I was home all along." The pain was still there, yes, but softer now, shaped into gratitude. I realized that love, like the sea, never disappears, it just changes form, waiting for us to listen again. And as I closed my eyes, I heard the waves, not outside but within me, whispering one last time, "Welcome home." The end. Bittersweet and healing. Grandma's unfiltered tears.